Hi everyone, I'm Kylie. I've been coming to KiwiCon and Kawaiicon for about 10 years and I've never had the bravery to come up on this stage, so I'm super excited to be here. Today I'm going to talk about some work we did in compromising the Sonos smart speaker, which I have up here. And I'm hopefully going to do a live demo, and I didn't record a backup, and Sylvia's going to kill me for that, so it better work. A little bit about me and us, I guess, at InfoSect, where the work was done. We see ourselves as embedded security specialists. So we've done this for a while, about 12 or 13 years. We've been focusing on pulling apart devices, looking at the firmware, finding bugs, writing exploits. And competing at Pwn2Own has always been a big dream of us. So being able to do it last year was really fun. So what is Pwn2Own for those of you who may not have come across it? It's considered a premier exploit competition, sort of worldwide. They have a lot of different versions of Pwn2Own, so we of course were looking at the embedded Pwn2Own. And what happens is vendors will nominate their devices to go into the competition, and then we as researchers will investigate those devices, find bugs, find zero-day bugs, write exploits, and compete on stage. And while you're there, you can win cash prizes, Master of Pwn points, and then you add up those Pwn points, and at the end of the week, someone is a winner. It's pretty difficult, it's pretty high pressure, so you are on stage, there is a timer, you get 3 attempts to run your exploit. Each attempt you get up to 10 minutes. I'm 50-50 of doing the exploit here today is going to be more high pressure than at Pwn2Own. I think here is a little bit more scary. I have less time. I only have like 5 minutes or something. So what we did is we decided we would only make the trip to Ireland to compete if we had at least 3 working exploits. And about a month out of the competition, we ended up having 3 good exploits that we could take over. So we had the Sonos Era 300 smart speaker, which is the one I have here. We had an exploit for the Synology TC500 camera, and an exploit for the Lorix IP camera. So we decided to go. We were going to go compete in Pwn2Own for the first time. So the reality of competing, and I thought I would cover some of this off because if any of you decide to go, there are a few little bumps and hurdles along the way to competing. First off for us was registration drama. So I don't know why this is, but they released a blog post about the competition with a registration email address. I wrote to it, they didn't reply. I wrote again 2 weeks later, they didn't reply. I'm like, how do we even register for this competition? I'm not sure if they just have the same competitors coming back year to year and not too many new competitors. Eventually, I had to get my partner, Silvio, who had someone on Twitter that followed him that worked at Pwn2Own that he could DM and say, hey, we would like to register. And we eventually got in. The next thing is the patch race, and this is pretty much notoriously a Pwn2Own thing. A week before the competition, vendors seem to always do their security patches and updates. So a few rumours are that researchers are testing their exploits, the crash dumps go to the vendors and they opt to patch. Another rumour is that other competitors will patch out bugs they don't want to use just to reduce the competition and that sort of thing. But it happened to us, and our Synology exploit, which was a really nice exploit, was patched the week before we went. We still have a blog post on that exploit and that bug if you're interested in reading it. We had a second bug that we hadn't worked up into a really good exploit. It needed a ASLR leak. And we didn't have one, so we brute forced that part of the exploit, and it would run on average in 40 minutes. So we thought, oh, we'll give it a go anyway, and if the stars align, maybe it will work, but it didn't work. And then there's the draw order. This is a pain. So we were super unlucky. We got drawn either second last or last for every device we went for. So the way Pwn2Own works, the first person to exploit a device gets the prize pool, the full prize pool and the full points. The second person to exploit it, even if it's a completely unique zero-day, a completely unique exploit and works 100%, you'll only get half the prize pool. If it's a duplicate, it gets reduced again, and only the first 4 people to exploit it get points and money. So we got drawn 3rd out of 4 competitors for the Sonos. We got drawn 11 out of 12 competitors for the Lorax. So our odds were tough. Still, we had success with our Sonos and Lorax exploits. So these are the, up here is the announcements, I guess, from Pwn2Own. So we failed on the Synology, which was expected. We succeeded with our Sonos Era exploit, but we were the 2nd team to exploit it. We went 3rd. And then, of course, we had a collision with our Lorax, so we were the 11th team to attempt it, and it was a collision on the bug, so we got quite a small payout for that 0-day and exploit. So I want to deep dive a little bit on the Sonos Era 300 smart speaker. Why I'm going to focus on this, it was the hardest device we went after in terms of acquiring the firmware. It also had the biggest payout, and when you looked at the competitors, there were 12 submissions for the Lorax camera and only 4 submissions for the Sonos. So if you go after a device where the firmware is easy to acquire, you can download it and start looking at it straight away, you're going to get a lot more competitors. So going after something where the barrier to entry is a bit harder, you're going to have better luck, I guess, in the competition. This device is also high-end, it's secure, it's encrypted. It's quite pricey, so we're a bit careful on how we use it. It's about $600 or $700 to buy one. And this was the device that really tested our embedded skill set, which is, what we see different about us as a company. So the real problem with the Sonos is getting that firmware to be able to start doing the vulnerability research. It is locked down by design. It has encrypted flash. Secure boot is enabled. The encryption keys for that encrypted flash is stored in one-time programmable fuses. So if you dump the flash, you're not going to get the firmware, it's going to be encrypted. And if you can't get the firmware, you can't start looking for bugs to be able to exploit it. So the first thing we did is we went back and looked at past research. And there were quite a few, Sonos has been in Pwn2Own for a while, so there were quite a few write-ups we could go back and read. So some of the winners from past Pwn2Owns were Synactive, Blasty, NCC Group, and Orange Sci all have write-ups on older Sonos devices. The key takeaways from all of those write-ups were that the firmware extraction is always the hardest step. Once you have the firmware, the code actually has a big attack surface, lots of services, and a fairly buggy in order to find bugs. They had several clever bypasses that they had used to get the firmware off, such as secure boot bypasses and other things. Our idea would look at all those attacks that they had used and see if it would work on the newer model. And the TLDR is yes, some of them do work. Most of what I'm going to cover here will be covered is reworking what was done in the NCC group write-up against the Sonos Era 100. So if you follow that link and you want to try to replicate it at home, it's a really good write-up. There are some changes you have to make with some of the bugs to get it working on this one. So I'll talk a little bit more about our break-in process. So here's what it looks like when you open it. On the left, we have the UART pin. So this allows us to see the U-boot console logs. It's non-interactive, but we can still see what's happening there on the device. In the middle there is the flash chip. I don't know if you can see it on the diagram very well, but there are magnetic wires that have been very carefully soldered onto the flash chip with thanks to our embedded specialist, Court, who's up the front here. So he said that it took up to 5 times to get those properly connected, very fiddly, and definitely my eyes wouldn't have been able to do it. And then on the right, we have the power connection. So by default, the Sonos is powered by mains power, which is quite dangerous. One of our researchers, Rami, can attest to this, as he touched one of the fully charged capacitors and ended up with a blister on his finger for a whole week, I think. So definitely try to bypass that. If you're going to do it at home, be careful. It is mains powered. So we bypassed that and powered it from an external low voltage power source, which made it a lot safer for us to start interacting with the device. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the bugs. There's three main misconfigurations or bugs that we use to get to the firmware. So first, there was a misconfig in U-boot. This allowed us to specify and install custom environment variables and control the way the device booted. So we're doing this through the flash chip. So we're doing in-system programming, so working with the flash chip while the device is on. The second bug was a kernel header offset bug. This allowed us to put an init file system just after the header and load that system. This gave us full system control and a root shell on the device, but we still couldn't get to the firmware. We're loading our own file system at this point. And the last and probably the trickiest bug was a secure bootloader bug. So it's running the AMLogic bootloader. And and that gave us trusted context once we ran that exploit, and we could dump the keys from those one-time programmable fuses, and now we have the keys, we can decrypt firmware. And it's really great because those keys don't change often with updates, so we've got that foothold now for generations to come. So from the keys, we could now decrypt the firmware, and from the firmware we could finally start analysing the Sonos properly. So for Pwn2Own, the goal is to find a 0-day, use that 0-day to get a system shell on the device. That's the game of the competition. And so you're unauthenticated on a local network. So for this device, it has Wi-Fi or Ethernet, and I'm connected over Ethernet because I don't trust you all with my Wi-Fi. And what we found was an audio codec bug. So when I do this live demo, you'll hear a sound from the speaker. That's us grooming the heap to run the exploit. We do actually have a CVE for this vulnerability. It's CVE 2025-1049. So I expect Louis to go back and read the CVE because that's what he does, right? If you saw his talk before lunch. And yes, that came out in March this year. So I'm going to move to the live demo. I've got 3 minutes left, so a little bit more high pressure than Pwn2Own, but I have faith. My notes. Okay, I'll just check the device stayed up when I went backstage. Yep. So I've networked myself to the device. I'm unauthenticated. I don't know the password. I don't know anything about it. I can ping it because I'm on the same network. I'm just going to run the exploit. So that's grouping the heap now. It's great feedback to know your exploit's actually doing something. Saying a little prayer. Yay, it worked. Okay, so we're running as Anakappa, which is the main binary that's on the Sonos. Having a shell on a device like this, you can actually do a lot of damage. It does have a microphone in it for voice control and such like that. So from here, you can install malware, like Alex taught us to do earlier. And we can, turn on the microphone without anyone realizing, listen to conversations in a house or an office, wherever this is installed, and covertly send it back to wherever we want to. Alex's malware server, I think. Did anyone pick the song that I played during the exploit grooming? Let me see if I can get that out of here. Okay, just in case you didn't, this is special for you. I'll stop that. And that's all. Thank you.